Remember the golden age of arcades? The air thick with the scent of popcorn and the sound of coins clinking as we lined up for our turn at the latest machines. While some games became legends, others quietly slipped under the radar, their brilliance overshadowed by the big names. In this video, we're dusting off those forgotten gems, 25 underrated arcade classics from the 80s and 90s that deserve a second look. From quirky mechanics to unforgettable visuals, these titles offer a nostalgic trip back to a time when gaming was pure, unfiltered fun. So, grab your quarters and let's dive into the pixelated past. Night Slashers, 1993, Data East. Ditch the street punks. It's time for a zombie jamboree. Tired of the same old arcade brawlers where you're just punching dudes in the leather jackets? Data East heard your cries for something a little more undead. Enter Night Slashers, a 1993 arcade gem that's like Halloween threw up in the best possible way. Forget your fists. Get ready to dropkick zombies, uppercut vampires, and generally have a monster-mashing good time. You get to choose your champion from a trio of seriously awesome monster hunters, a cybernetic powerhouse built for undead destruction, a lightning-fast martial artist with a serious vendetta against vampires, and a mystic who's basically got a supernatural solution for every ghoul and goblin. Together, you'll be tearing through the kind of places that give you goosebumps. Graveyards where the dead don't stay dead, haunted hospitals with more than just bad bedside manner, and creepy castles that are definitely not Airbnb friendly. If you've ever wanted to unleash your inner monster slayer in glorious arcade fashion, Night Slashers is your ticket to a night you won't soon forget, even if you try. The gameplay is pure arcade mayhem side-scrolling, button mashing, and unleashing ridiculous special moves that light up the screen and maybe cost you a sliver of health. Each level ends with a boss fight straight out of a monster movie marathon, from mummies to mad scientists, and yes, even Dracula himself. The visuals are as over the top as the action, with big, bold sprites and plenty of cartoonish gore, especially if you ever get your hands on the uncensored Japanese version. But what really makes Night Slashers a blast is the sheer fun of it all. 3-player co-op means you and your buddies can turn the undead into mincemeat together, and bonus rounds like zombie whack-a-mole keep things from ever getting too serious. Throw in a spooky soundtrack and some campy horror vibes, and you've got an arcade gem that's just dying to be rediscovered. ZexX, 1991 Konami. So, you think you've seen weird in space shooters? Hold my space beer. Konami, those maestros of arcade madness, dropped ZexX in 1991, and let me tell you, it was like they took a standard space shooter, dunked it in a vat of alien goo, and then sprinkled it with a healthy dose of, what the heck was that? Forget your predictable power-ups and your straightforward enemy formations. ZexX throws you into a cosmic landscape that feels more like a fever dream than a typical arcade level, and your main weapon is, well, it's this tentacled energy thing called a flint. Now, the flint isn't just some passive drone hanging around your ship. Oh no, this bad boy has a mind of its own, or at least you can control it like it does. It can soak up enemy fire like a cosmic sponge, unleash its own attacks, and even latch onto bigger baddies for some serious damage. It's like having a weird, symbiotic alien buddy who also happens to be your best defense and offense. The levels themselves are a trip, filled with organic-looking structures, pulsating alien life forms, and a general sense of, I'm not entirely sure what I'm looking at, but it's kind of awesome. The graphics had this cool, almost dark and biological feel to them, which really set it apart from other shooters of the time. While ZexX might not be the first name that comes up in a conversation about classic arcade shooters, its truly unique flint mechanic and its overall bizarre charm make it a real standout. It's the kind of game that makes you go, okay Konami, you win. That was definitely out there. If you ever get a chance to pilot a ship with its own sentient energy tentacle, you absolutely should. Just don't ask me to explain the plot. I'm still trying to figure out what those giant floating eyeballs were all about. Shadow Force, 1992, Technos. Sometimes you step up to an arcade cabinet expecting the usual punch-and-kick routine, and instead, you get a full-blown sci-fi spectacle that refuses to play by the rules. That's exactly what you're in for with Shadow Force, Techno's criminally overlooked beat-em-up from 1992. Right from the jump, it's clear this isn't your standard street fight. You're cast as a cybernetic hero in a neon-soaked futuristic city, and the first time you morph into a jet and zoom across the screen, you realize you're in for something special. The real hook here is transformation. At any moment, your character can shapeshift into a jet for aerial attacks, a tank to plow through crowds, or even a spinning drill to tunnel past obstacles and enemies. Each form comes with its own moveset and tactical advantages, making every encounter feel like a puzzle you can solve with a little creativity. This isn't just a gimmick. Each transformation is woven into the level design, so you're constantly encouraged to experiment. One minute you're dodging laser fire as a jet, the next you're bulldozing robot henchmen as a tank, and just when you think you've seen it all, the game throws another curveball your way. Visually, Shadow Force is a love letter to early 90s cyberpunk, with glowing cityscapes, mechanical monstrosities, and a cast of enemies that look like they raided a futuristic costume shop. The soundtrack is pure, synth-driven adrenaline, keeping your heart pounding as you battle through each stage. Sure, the controls can be a bit stiff, and the difficulty curve isn't always friendly, but the sheer variety and style more than make up for it. Shadow Force may not have the household name status of Double Dragon, but for anyone who loves inventive gameplay and a heavy dose of arcade weirdness, this one's a must-play.
Mystic Warriors.
Mystic Warriors, 1993, Konami. If you ever wanted to feel like an action movie hero in the middle of a snowstorm shootout, Mystic Warriors is your ticket to adrenaline-fueled chaos. Konami unleashed this wild ride in 1993, blending the run-and-gun energy of Contra with the over-the-top flair of a Saturday morning cartoon. Instead of soldiers, you're a team of colorfully dressed ninjas, each with their own weapons and style, taking on a villainous syndicate that's kidnapped your friends and unleashed havoc across the city. Right from the first stage, Mystic Warriors throws everything at you, exploding cable cars, avalanches, and enemies that leap out from every direction. The action is fast, relentless, and packed with set pieces that keep you on your toes. Each level feels like a new blockbuster scene. Whether you're battling atop a speeding train, dodging hazards in a frozen mountain pass, or infiltrating a neon-lit fortress, power-ups and screen-clearing bombs add to the spectacle, letting you turn the tide when things get overwhelming. What really sets Mystic Warriors apart is its sense of style. The graphics are vibrant and packed with detail, from the expressive ninja animations to the imaginative enemy designs. The soundtrack pulses with high-energy tunes that keep the momentum going, and the controls are tight enough to let you pull off daring escapes and last-second saves. With up to 4 players joining in, the chaos multiplies, turning every stage into a frantic, laughter-filled brawl. While it never reached the fame of Konami's bigger hits, Mystic Warriors is a hidden gem for anyone who craves arcade action with a ninja twist and blockbuster flair. Avenging Spirit, 1991, Gel Echo. Ever wish you could play as the bad guys instead of just blasting through them? Avenging Spirit makes that fantasy a reality, throwing you into the afterlife as a recently murdered protagonist out to save his kidnapped girlfriend from a sinister crime syndicate. But here's the twist. You're a ghost, and your only way forward is to possess almost any enemy you see. Each host comes with its own special moves, weapons, and quirks. One minute you're a rocket-firing commando. The next, you're a kung fu master, or even a vampire with a flair for the dramatic. The game's possession mechanic is pure arcade genius. You're constantly swapping bodies, adapting to whatever the stage throws at you, and discovering new ways to tackle enemies and obstacles. Some hosts are powerhouses, others are just plain weird, but each one changes up the gameplay and keeps things fresh. Lose your host, and you're back to being a vulnerable spirit, forced to quickly find a new body before your energy drains away. This frantic scramble adds a layer of strategy and excitement that most platformers of the era never touched. Avenging Spirit stages are short but packed with variety, from city streets to airfields, all rendered in colorful, detailed pixel art that's bursting with personality. The soundtrack is catchy and energetic, perfectly matching the game's quirky, anime-inspired style. There are even multiple endings, depending on whether you find hidden keys and manage to save your girlfriend, giving you a reason to come back for another run. While it never got the attention it deserved in crowded arcades, Avenging Spirit stands out as a creative, playful, and totally unique platformer that's just as much fun to discover today as it was in the 90s. Battle Circuit, 1997. Capcom. Well, a few arcade brawlers were getting a little too predictable. Here's a game that would like to have a word. Battle Circuit is Capcom's answer to anyone who ever asked, what if my beat-em-up hero was a stretchy-limbed bounty hunter, a pink ostrich, or a sentient plant in a leotard? Forget gritty streets and tough guys in bandanas. This is the future, and apparently the future is completely bonkers. The cast is a fever dream of character design, and the action is just as over the top. You're not just mashing buttons, you're earning coins to buy new attacks and power-ups between stages, turning your hero into an even more absurd fighting machine. One moment you're swinging a giant fist, the next you're launching a laser drill, and then you're riding a cybernetic animal into battle because, well, why not? Each stage is a new excuse for Capcom to throw every wild idea at the wall-neon cityscapes, mutant bosses, and enemies that look like they wandered in from another game entirely. The visuals are a riot of color and cartoon energy, and the soundtrack is pure arcade funk. Up to 4 players can join the chaos, and with everyone unleashing their weirdest moves at once, it's less of a fight and more of a slapstick brawl. The plot? Something about a computer virus and world domination, but let's be honest, you're here for the spectacle. It's a crime battle circuit didn't get more love in its day, but if you want an arcade experience that's as unpredictable as it is hilarious, this one's a must. Osman, or Cannon Dancer, 1996, Mitchell Corporation. Just when you thought side-scrolling action games couldn't get any stranger, along comes a title that practically dares you to keep up. Osman, or Cannon Dancer if you're feeling fancy, is what happens when the creators of Strider decide to toss out swords and subtlety in favor of bare-knuckle brawling and psychedelic mayhem. You play as Kieran, a martial artist, in a world where evil sorceresses run rampant, and the only way to save the day is to sprint, leap, and kick your way through a Technicolor fever dream. Every level is a sensory overload. Neon-soaked cityscapes, gravity-defying platforms, and enemies that look like they were designed during a particularly wild night out. Forget the usual parade of generic thugs. Here you're up against bizarre bosses, mutant henchmen, and even the environment itself, which seems to shift and pulse with every step you take. The gameplay is all about speed and style. You're not just fighting, you're practically breakdancing across the screen, with shadow clones multiplying your every move. The more power-ups you collect, the more Kieran splits into copies, turning the screen into a flurry of fists and feet. The controls are razor sharp, encouraging you to chain attacks and acrobatics without ever slowing down. Osman doesn't care about realism. It's a full-throttle celebration of arcade excess. The visuals are bold and colorful, with backgrounds that look like they were pulled from a comic book fever dream. The soundtrack pulses with energy, mixing funky beats with high-octane synths to keep your adrenaline pumping. Boss battles are unpredictable and wild, often throwing you into set pieces that demand quick reflexes and creative thinking. While it never got the mainstream love it deserved, this game remains a cult classic for anyone craving a side-scroller that's as fast, flashy, and unapologetically weird as arcade gaming gets. Toki, 1989, Tad Corporation. Absolutely bananas, because we're diving headfirst into the wonderfully weird world of Toki, a 1989 arcade gem from the folks at Tad Corporation. Picture this. Your average jungle dude, Toki, is chilling with his main squeeze, Miho, when bam, the evil voodoo wizard, Vuki Medlo, tries saying that 5 times fast after a few mango smoothies, swoops in, turns Toki into a ridiculously agile ape, and kidnaps Miho. Talk about a bad hair day, or should I say a bad fur day. so now you're this little angry monkey with a serious spitting problem. Forget bananas. Your primary weapon is a constant barrage of, well, let's just call it simian saliva projectiles. You'll be hopping, skipping, and occasionally climbing your way through lush jungles, treacherous icy caves, and even some seriously spooky haunted houses. The gameplay is classic run-and-gun platforming, but with a distinctly primate twist. You'll collect power-ups that give your spit some extra oomph. Think fireballs, spread shots, and even the ability to briefly transform into a fire-breathing dragon, because why not? The level design is pure arcade madness, throwing hordes of bizarre enemies your way, from grumpy snails to fire-spitting statues. It's the kind of game that'll have you pumping quarters in, if you were lucky enough to experience it back then, or furiously mashing buttons on whatever retro console you're rocking now. Toki might not be as universally lauded as some of its platforming brethren, but its unique charm and relentlessly quirky action definitely carved out a special little spot in the hearts of arcade aficionados. It's a testament to a time when game developers weren't afraid to get a little, well, apeshit crazy. Boogie Wings, 1992, Data East. Soaring through the skies with a smile and maybe a few bombs. All right, aviation enthusiasts and lovers of general mayhem, let's talk about Boogie Wings, a gloriously chaotic side-scrolling shooter that graced the arcades back in 1992, courtesy of the wonderfully wacky minds at Data East. Forget your realistic flight simulators. This game throws you into a world where biplanes are armed to the teeth, and the enemy forces seem to consist of every bizarre contraption imaginable. The premise is simple enough. Some bad dudes are causing trouble, as they tend to do in these kinds of games, and it's up to you, piloting your trusty vintage aircraft, to blast them back to whatever dimension they crawled out of. There isn't a deep philosophical narrative here, folks, just pure, unadulterated aerial action. But, oh boy, what action it is. Boogie Wings takes the classic shoot-'em-up formula and injects it with a healthy dose of silliness and innovation. One of the game's standout features is the ability to grab onto enemies and even entire vehicles with a grappling hook. You can literally latch onto a tank, swing it around like a metallic yo-yo, and then hurl it at other unsuspecting foes. It's the kind of gameplay mechanic that makes you wonder what kind of brainstorming sessions they had at Data East. And frankly, we're all the better for it. Beyond the grappling hook shenanigans, you've got your standard array of power-ups to collect, turning your pea shooter into a screen-clearing machine. The level design is also a treat, throwing you through vibrant landscapes filled with quirky enemies and memorable boss battles. While Boogie Wings might not be the first title that comes to mind when you think of classic arcade shooters, its unique grappling mechanic and over-the-top action make it a truly underrated gem that deserves a spot on any retro gaming aficionado's radar. If you ever stumble across this one in an emulator or a dusty arcade cabinet, don't hesitate to hop in the cockpit. You're in for a wild ride. Gunsmoke, 1985, Capcom. Yee-haw! It's a Wild West shootout. Saddle up because we're moseying on over to the dusty plains of Capcom's Gunsmoke, a rootin' arcade classic from 1985. It's a Wild West shootout. Forget your fancy space blasters and monkey spit. This time, we're strapping on our six-shooters and playing as Billy Bob, a bounty hunter with a serious score to settle. The premise is simple. A gang of outlaws has been causing a ruckus, and it's your job to bring them to justice, dead or alive. Preferably dead for the extra cash, naturally. Gunsmoke flips the traditional side-scrolling shooter on its head. Literally, it's a vertically scrolling shooter, giving you a top-down view of the Wild West mayhem. You'll be blasting your way through hordes of bandits, each with their own unique quirks and weaponry. The gameplay is surprisingly strategic. You have 3 buttons, each controlling a different firing direction, forcing you to think on your feet as the bullets fly. And trust me, they fly fast. You'll be dodging dynamite, outsmarting sharpshooters, and facing off against some seriously tough boss characters, each more outlandish than the last. Think a guy who throws axes, a whip-wielding lady, and a dude who rides a freaking steam train. It's pure, unadulterated arcade craziness. While Gunsmoke might not be as instantly recognizable as some of Capcom's other heavy hitters, it's a testament to their early innovation. The game's unique perspective, challenging gameplay, and over-the-top Wild West setting made it a standout in the arcade scene. It's the kind of game that'll make you feel like a true gunslinger, even if your actual shooting skills are more shoot first, ask questions later, and probably miss. So, if you're looking for a dose of retro arcade action with a healthy helping of Wild West charm, Gunsmoke is your huckleberry. Just remember to keep your finger on the trigger and your eyes peeled for those pesky dynamite-tossing bandits. The Outf Foxies, 1995, Namco, when hitmen get hilariously unprofessional. You're a super rich, probably slightly unhinged, millionaire. How do you decide who gets your massive fortune? A boring old Will Reading? Nah, you pit a bunch of highly skilled and utterly bonkers assassins against each other in a no-holds-barred, last-person-standing brawl. That's the wonderfully weird premise of Namco's 1995 arcade gem, the Outf Foxies. Forget your stealthy ninjas lurking in the shadows. These guys are more likely to trip over a banana peel while trying to look menacing. It's a fighting game, sure, but with a twist. The entire environment is your weapon. Forget memorizing complex combos. Here, the real strategy lies in grabbing whatever ridiculous object is closest and whacking your opponent with it. We're talking chairs, potted plants, fire extinguishers, bowling balls, you name it. And the stages themselves are just as crazy, filled with collapsing floors, runaway vehicles, and all sorts of other hazards that can turn the tide of battle in an instant. Imagine the sheer joy of knocking out a suave wolfman with a well-aimed trash can. The cast of assassins is equally bonkers. You've got a cybernetic ninja who probably moonlights as a DJ, a flamboyant cheetah who's clearly got a flair for the dramatic, and a penguin in a suit who looks suspiciously like he's just waddled in from a fancy dinner. Each character has their own unique and often hilarious fighting style, ensuring that every match feels fresh and unpredictable. While the Outf Foxies might not be the first game that springs to mind when you think of classic arcade fighters, it's a seriously underrated gem that deserves way more love. Its unique blend of fighting action and environmental mayhem creates a truly unforgettable experience. So, if you ever stumble across this one in the retro gaming wilderness, don't hesitate to dive in. Just be prepared for some seriously silly, over-the-top assassin action, where the most dangerous weapon might just be a well-placed rubber chicken. You've been warned. Ninja Baseball Batman, 1993, IREM. Batter up. For justice, witness the most gloriously bizarre sports-themed beat-em-up you've ever laid your eyes on. IREM's Ninja Baseball Batman, which swung onto the arcade scene in 1993. Now I know what you're thinking, Ninja. Baseball? Batman? What in the name of hot dogs and home runs is going on here? And to that I say, just roll with it, because this game is pure, unadulterated arcade gold. The story, as wonderfully bonkers as the title suggests, revolves around the kidnapping of the Golden League's star players by a nefarious commissioner, because, of course, the commissioner is the bad guy. It's up to 4 robotic ninjas, each representing a different base and color-coded for your convenience, to rescue them and restore order to the world of baseball. Yes, you read that correctly? Robotic ninjas playing baseball? We're off to a good start, aren't we? The gameplay in Ninja Baseball Batman is classic side-scrolling beat-em-up action, but with a distinctly baseball-infused twist. You'll be punching, kicking, and, naturally, whacking enemies with your trusty baseball bat. But these aren't your average baseball bats, mind you. They can be charged up for powerful special attacks, and each ninja has their own unique moveset. You'll be facing off against a rogues gallery of wonderfully weird enemies, from anthropomorphic hot dogs and popcorn to giant baseball mitts with legs. The level design is just as imaginative, taking you through bizarre locations like a giant pinball machine and a sushi restaurant run by angry chefs. The game is also packed with quirky power-ups, like temporary invincibility and screen-clearing special moves. While Ninja Baseball Batman might sound like a fever dream cooked up after one too many hot dogs at a doubleheader, its unique charm, frantic action, and sheer absurdity make it a truly memorable and underrated gem from the arcade era. It's a testament to a time when game developers weren't afraid to get a little, well, out in left field. So grab your virtual bat, round up some friends for some 4-player co-op mayhem, and get ready to knock some sense and baseballs into the bad guys. Play ball.
Metamorphic Force.
Metamorphic Force, 1993, Konami. Want to unleash your inner beast literally while saving the world from an evil empire? Metamorphic Force, Konami's vibrant 1993 arcade brawler, lets you do just that. Set in a world threatened by the resurrected King Death Shadow, the game throws you into the role of one of 4 chosen heroes, each blessed by the goddess Athena with the power to transform into a powerful anthropomorphic animal. Whether you're charging as Ban the Minotaur, slashing as Claude the White Werewolf, pouncing as Max the Black Panther, or smashing as Ivan the Werebear, you'll be tearing through waves of mutant animal enemies and massive, imaginative bosses at a breakneck pace. The gameplay is classic Konami beat 'em up, borrowing the best elements from hits like X-Men and Mystic Warriors, but with a wild twist. Collect a golden Athena statue, and you morph from your relatively fragile human form into a rampaging beast, gaining speed, power, and new attacks. Stay in beast form as long as your transformation meter holds out take too much damage and you're knocked back to your vulnerable human state. Pick up another statue while already transformed and you'll unleash a screen-clearing super attack, perfect for mowing down crowds or hammering bosses. Stages are short, colorful, and packed with detail, from rainbow-hued backgrounds and parallax scrolling to clever references to other Konami titles. The enemy roster is a parade of creative anthropomorphic creatures, frogmen, elephant warriors, lizard brutes, and more, culminating in memorable boss fights like a flaming chicken man and a demonic Amazon. The action is fast, the moveset is surprisingly deep for the genre, and the soundtrack delivers that signature Konami energy. While the North American version is infamous for its depleting health counter, making it tough to clear on a single credit, the Japanese release features a more forgiving health bar and balanced difficulty, making it the preferred way to play for many fans. Despite never reaching the fame of Konami's biggest hits, Metamorphic Force stands out for its wild transformations, colorful spectacle, and pure arcade fun. A true hidden gem for anyone who loves their beat-em-ups with a side of mythological mayhem. Puli Ruah, Taito. Forget your typical historical documentaries, folks, because Taito's 1991 arcade offering, Puli Ruah, throws all semblance of temporal accuracy out the window in favor of pure, unadulterated weirdness. Imagine a world where the delicate fabric of time has been, well, let's just say, slightly inconvenienced by a mischievous villain. Now, who do you call to fix this chronological kerfuffle? Why, a pair of adorable and surprisingly agile cat-human hybrids named Puli Ruah and Puralula, of course. Armed with sharp claws and even sharper senses of adventure, these feline time travelers are ready to pounce their way through history and set things right. Instead of your standard button-mashing beat-em-up, Puli Ruah spices things up with a unique elastic rope action. Think of it as a high-tech cat toy that can also be used to ensnare Roman centurions and swing across prehistoric chasms. You and a buddy can team up as these claw-wielding heroes, traversing through a hilariously anachronistic landscape filled with cavemen, cowboys, and even futuristic robots. It's a historical hodgepodge that somehow just works. The combat is more than just frantic button presses. The elastic ropes allow for strategic grabs, swings, and some seriously satisfying combo attacks. Visually, the game is a vibrant explosion of color and quirky character designs, perfectly capturing the game's overall lighthearted and slightly bonkers vibe. While it might not be the first title that pops into your head when discussing classic arcade games, Puli Ruah's originality and sheer oddball charm make it a truly memorable and often overlooked gem. It's a testament to the creative freedom of the arcade era, proving that sometimes the best ideas are the ones that make you tilt your head and say, wait, what did I just see? So, if you're looking for a dose of retro fun that's guaranteed to make you smile and maybe scratch your head a little, dive into the time-bending world of Puli Ruah. Just try not to get too distracted by the sheer adorableness of those cat-human heroes. They're surprisingly fierce. Alien Storm, 1990, Sega. 3 heroes, a whole lot of alien goop. Alright, let's crank up the nostalgia dial and head back to the arcades of 1990 for a dose of alien blasting mayhem, courtesy of Sega's Alien Storm. Picture this. Earth's having a bit of an infestation problem. And by infestation, I mean hordes of seriously nasty extraterrestrial critters have decided to make our little blue planet their new vacation spot, minus the relaxing by the beach part. It's up to a trio of heroes who are definitely not afraid of getting their hands or metallic appendages dirty to send these unwelcome guests packing, preferably in tiny, vaporized pieces. You get to pick your poison from 3 awesome characters, each bringing their own unique flair to the alien squashing party. First up, we've got Garth, the resident muscle man who believes in solving problems with extreme prejudice and a whole lot of firepower. Then there's Stella, the agile and whip-smart heroine who can crack an alien skull with her laser whip, faster than you can say intergalactic pest control. And last, but certainly not least, we have Scooter, a robot who's not just good for cleaning your floors. He can transform into a super speedy alien-bashing ball of metal. Talk about versatility. The gameplay is your classic side-scrolling beat-em-up action, but with the added bonus of a super satisfying special attack that clears the screen of those pesky alien pests. Trust me, when you're surrounded by a swarm of creepy crawlies, unleashing one of those bad boys is pure catharsis. What makes Alien Storm stand out in the crowded beat-em-up scene is its slightly eerie atmosphere and those awesome first-person shooter segments where you're blasting aliens as they burst through windows. It's a fun little change of pace that keeps the action feeling fresh. While maybe not as iconic as some of Sega's other arcade giants, Alien Storm is a seriously underrated gem that delivers a solid dose of alien-busting fun. So grab a friend or 2, pick your favorite hero, and get ready to show those extraterrestrial invaders who's boss. Just try not to step in too much alien goo. It's probably not good for your shoes. Eco Fighters, 1993, Capcom. Think back to the arcades of the early to mid-90s. You're probably picturing spaceships, or maybe some street brawlers. But then, out of Japan, in late 93, and hitting the West in early 94, comes a horizontal shooter with a slightly different agenda, built on Capcom's impressive CPS2 hardware. The same engine that powered a bunch of their other awesome games, this one had a surprisingly green heart beating beneath its pixelated surface. It was like the developers behind the Mega Man, the Power Battle series, decided to trade robot scraps for, well, corporate scrap. Get ready for some serious shooting action. But this time, the bad guys aren't aliens. They're pollution-belching companies straight out of an environmentally aware Saturday morning cartoon. The premise is deliciously pulp. A rapacious mega-conglomerate is drilling, trashing, and basically speedrunning climate change. So a ragtag squadron hops into bubble-canopied fighters to blast smokestacks and rescue forests 1 pixel at a time. Gameplay is where this cabinet flexes its green muscles. Your craft is welded to a 360-degree mechanical arm you spin manually, letting you strafe screens full of metallic litter while dodging projectile confetti. The gimmick feels like Capcom spliced Forgotten World's rotary dial with R-Type's force pod. And it's still refreshingly weird 3 decades later. Bright parallax vistas and rainbow explosions make toxic wastelands look annoyingly gorgeous, while Sean Nishigaki's upbeat soundtrack slaps harder than a Greenpeace petition hand-delivered by a mecha dolphin. Despite its quirks, 1993's crowded arcades buried eco-fighters beneath louder quarter-munchers, turning it into Capcom's forgotten compost heap of the 90s. Salvation arrived via Capcom Classics Collection Volume 2 on PS2 or Xbox and the reloaded PSP set in 2006, plus 2022's Capcom Arcade Second Stadium on Switch, PS4, Xbox One, and PC, meaning it boots beautifully on a Steam Deck with zero additional carbon footprint besides your sweaty palms. Because that rotating arm control survives intact, the game finally gets the couch co-op love it always deserved, making it essential for shmup fiends, eco-activists, or anyone who shouted, "The power is yours," back in '93. Arabian Magic, 1992, Taito. Step into a world straight out of the Arabian Nights, where magic carpets, cursed kings, and powerful genies are just part of the adventure. Arabian Magic, released by Taito in 1992, is a side-scrolling hack-and-slash that lets up to 4 players team up as legendary heroes on a quest to save the kingdom of Shahryard. The story kicks off with the kingdom's king turned into a monkey by the evil one's sorcery, and only the mystical jewel of 7 colors can break the curse and restore peace. Players choose from 4 distinct characters: Prince Rasid, the balanced swordsman; Princess Lisa, who attacks with a magical scarf; Sinbad, wielding a flaming sword; and Afshal, a mace-swinging powerhouse. Each hero brings unique abilities and magic to the fight, adding variety and replay value to every run. The journey spans 7 vibrant stages, each guarded by a formidable boss. Defeat a guardian, and not only do you collect a jewel, but that boss also joins your cause as a spirit ally, ready to be summoned alongside the mighty genie for devastating attacks. Arabian Magic stands out for its blend of action and light RPG elements, stat boosts, treasure-filled vases, and the ability to summon magical helpers keep things fresh. The cooperative gameplay is a highlight, letting friends combine their powers and strategies to overcome waves of monsters and tricky traps. While its pixel art and animation might not be the most polished of its era, the game's engaging mechanics and enchanting setting have earned it a loyal following. Arabian Magic may not have been the flashiest game in the arcade, but its mix of teamwork, strategy, and mythological flair make it a true hidden gem for fans of fantasy beat-em-ups. Dark Seal or Gate of Doom, 1990, Data East. Step into a dungeon where every corridor is crawling with danger, and your only hope is a party of fantasy archetypes straight out of a tabletop campaign. That's the setup for Dark Seal, better known as Gate of Doom outside Japan, Data East's ambitious 1990 arcade adventure that mashes up hack-and-slash action with a dash of RPG flavor. Here, you pick from 4 heroes: a knight with a spinning flail, a fireball-slinging wizard, a spear-wielding bard, or a shuriken-tossing ninja, each with their own strengths, weaknesses, and wonderfully cheesy voice lines that set the tone for a quest that's as charming as it is challenging. Played from a distinctive isometric perspective, the action is all about battling through hordes of skeletons, orcs, dragons, and other monsters as you hunt for the magical treasures needed to seal the titular Gate of Doom and save the kingdom of Etruria. The controls are simple, just 2 buttons, one for attacks and one for magic. But the real fun comes from filling your magic meter and unleashing a random spell. Sometimes you'll become a tornado or a fireball. Other times you might transform into a Medusa head, a thundercloud, or even a pig or a treasure chest, with effects ranging from devastating to just plain silly. The game's difficulty ramps up fast, with later stages throwing status effects like poison, confusion, and petrification at you, and bosses that are as visually impressive as they are tough to beat. While the graphics and music are solid for the era, and the isometric view gives the action a unique feel, some players found the level design and enemy waves a bit repetitive, and the challenge can border on punishing, especially if you're flying solo. Still, with 2-player co-op, a moody medieval fantasy vibe, and a magic system that keeps you guessing, Dark Seal stands out as a quirky, memorable dungeon crawler that's perfect for fans of Gauntlet, Kadash, or anyone who loves a good arcade quest with a sense of humor. Thunder Hoop, 1992, Gelco. Get ready to dunk on some bad guys. Alright, Hoops fans and lovers of arcade action that's just a little bit different, let's talk about Gelco's Thunder Hoop, which slam dunked its way into arcades back in 1992. Now, you might be thinking, a basketball game? What's so special about that? Well, hold your horses, because Thunder Hoop isn't your typical NBA Jam experience. Sure, there are hoops and balls involved, but the name of the game here is more about beating up bad guys with basketballs than actually following the rules of a real match. Think of it as a bizarre mashup of basketball and a side-scrolling beat-em-up, and you're halfway there. The story, as much as there is one in this gloriously chaotic game, involves a group of athletic heroes who decide that the best way to deal with a gang of thugs causing trouble is to, well, pelt them with basketballs. And not just regular basketballs, mind you. We're talking about balls that can be charged up for special attacks, bounced off walls for trick shots, and generally used as instruments of pure, unadulterated arcade justice. You get to choose from a team of colorful characters, each with their own unique stats and special moves. The gameplay is surprisingly addictive, as you run and gun, or rather run and throw, your way through hordes of increasingly bizarre enemies. You'll be facing off against everything from street punks to ninjas to even, wait for it, guys riding unicycles. It's the kind of game where you just have to throw your hands up and embrace the sheer absurdity of it all. While Thunder Hoop might not be the most well-known title in the Arcade Hall of Fame, its unique concept, fast-paced action, and over-the-top humor make it a truly memorable and underrated gem. It's the perfect game for when you want to experience the thrill of scoring a three-pointer, while simultaneously knocking out a gang of unruly clowns. Just don't expect any free throws. This is a different kind of ball game altogether. Armored Warriors, 1994, Capcom. Dreamed of piloting a giant robot and punching bad guys? Dream no more. Alright, let's get ready to rumble with some seriously oversized metal. Capcom's Armored Warriors, which stomped its way into arcades in 1994, was basically a dream come true for anyone who ever spent their childhood drawing giant robots. Forget your action figures, this game let you actually climb into the cockpit of a customizable behemoth and unleash some serious robotic fury on the bad guys. The story? Well, it's the classic tale. Evil dudes are causing trouble, shocker, and it's up to a squad of brave pilots to hop into their massive mechs and teach them a lesson in giant robot etiquette. Think Saturday morning cartoons, but with way more explosions and the satisfying crunch of metal on metal. What made Armored Warriors so ridiculously cool was the sheer amount of customization on offer. Before you even hit the battlefield, you could tinker with your robot, swapping out arms, legs, weapons, and even heads to create your ultimate fighting machine. Want a mech with dual Gatling guns for arms? You got it. Prefer a more nimble bot with devastating melee attacks? The choice was yours. This customization aspect gave the game incredible replayability and let you really personalize your destructive force. The gameplay itself was a fantastic blend of classic beat-em-up action, but with the added weight and power that comes from controlling a walking tank. You'd be stomping through cityscapes, blasting enemies with all sorts of awesome weaponry, and even teaming up with up to 3 friends for some truly epic co-op robot-on-robot action. The boss battles were particularly epic, often pitting your customized creation against screen-filling monstrosities that required teamwork and a good understanding of your robot's capabilities to take down. While Armored Warriors might not be the first Capcom title that comes to mind for everyone, its deep customization, satisfyingly crunchy combat, and fantastic multiplayer make it a seriously underrated gem in the arcade pantheon. It's the kind of game that makes you wish you had a personal giant robot for, well, maybe just for getting groceries. Spin Master, 1993, Data East. Forget everything you thought you knew about arcade weapons and possibly physics. Let's just get this out of the way. Data East's Spin Master, which graced the arcade scene in 1993, is a game where your primary weapon is a tricked-out yo-yo. Yes, you read that correctly. Forget your swords, guns, or even powerful robot fists. In this wonderfully weird world, the key to saving the day lies in the skillful manipulation of a string and a couple of weighted discs. The premise? Some nefarious dude, because there's always one, is causing trouble, and it's up to our heroes, Johnny and Tom, to unleash their inner yo-yo masters and set things right. If that doesn't sound like a recipe for arcade gold, I don't know what does. Spin Master throws you into a vibrant, side-scrolling world where your primary mode of attack involves flinging a high-tech yo-yo at a frankly bizarre menagerie of enemies. These aren't just your average string and disc contraptions, though. We're talking yo-yos that can morph into elemental attacks, deliver devastating special moves, and even act as grappling hooks to swing across treacherous gaps. The gameplay is surprisingly fluid and engaging, requiring you to master the art of the yo-yo to survive the increasingly chaotic levels. You'll journey through a kaleidoscope of environments, battling everything from unicycle riding clowns to muscle-bound weirdos in animal costumes. The whole thing is wrapped up in a package of bright, colorful graphics and a soundtrack that's as catchy as it is energetic. While Spin Master might fly under the radar for some retro gamers, its sheer originality and addictive gameplay make it a truly underrated gem. It's proof that sometimes the most unexpected ideas can lead to the most fun. So, if you're looking for an arcade experience that's guaranteed to make you smile and maybe even dust off your old yo-yo skills, give Spin Master a spin. You won't regret it. Kadash, 1989, Taito. In a time when arcades were bursting with quarter-munching action games, Kadash stood out by blending the thrill of side-scrolling platforming with the depth of a role-playing quest. Set in a high fantasy world teetering on the brink of doom, you and up to 3 friends choose from 4 heroes, a sword-swinging fighter, a spell-casting mage, a healing priestess, or a nimble ninja, and plunge into the underground kingdom of Kadash to rescue Princess Salasa from the demonic Balrog. Each character brings unique strengths. The fighter is a tank in melee, the mage rains down powerful spells, the priestess offers crucial healing and defense, and the ninja excels at speed and ranged attacks. As you hack through monsters, you gain experience, level up, and grow stronger, while gold collected from fallen foes lets you buy better weapons, armor, and life-saving items in villages along your journey. The game's world is sprawling and varied, with stages ranging from lush meadows to treacherous caves and underwater passages, each crawling with mythological and original monsters. Shops and NPCs offer hints and upgrades, adding a layer of strategy and exploration rare for arcade games of the era. The arcade version even supported a unique 4-player link mode, connecting 2 cabinets for a true party adventure, though console ports trimmed some features, like reducing the playable cast on Genesis. Kadash's timer and relentless enemy waves could be brutal, but its mix of action, character progression, and fantasy storytelling made it a cult favorite. Decades later, it remains a beloved example of how arcades could deliver more than just quick thrills. They could offer a full-blown quest for glory. Growl, 1991, Taito. Forget gentle nudges. This arcade game tackles animal rights with shotguns and suplexing bears. Let's cut to the chase. Taito's Growl, which stomped into arcades in 1991, wasn't about politely signing petitions to save the whales. Nope. This game took the idea of protecting wildlife and cranked the dial all the way to absurdly awesome. We're talking about a team of bandana-clad badasses who are absolutely done with poachers messing with their furry and scaly friends. Their solution? Grab whatever weapon isn't nailed down, think shotguns, axes, maybe even a flamethrower, and deliver a good old-fashioned beatdown to anyone who dares harm a creature of the wild. If you ever wanted to see a guy suplex a bear in the name of conservation, then buckle up, because Growl is your jam. You get to choose from a quartet of surprisingly agile and heavily armed individuals, each with their own, slightly over-the-top fighting style. We're talking guys who can suplex bears. Yes, you read that right. Wield massive axes, and generally look like they spend their weekends wrestling alligators. The gameplay is classic side-scrolling beat-em-up action, but with a decidedly animalistic twist. You'll be battling hordes of poachers, mutated creatures, because why not, and even riding on the backs of friendly animals to unleash some extra damage. The weapon variety in this game is genuinely impressive, ranging from your standard knives and clubs to more exotic fare like flamethrowers and rocket launchers. And let's not forget the ability to team up with up to 3 other players for some truly chaotic co-op action. What makes Growl stand out is its sheer over-the-top nature and its surprisingly strong environmental message, albeit delivered through a hail of bullets and bear suplexes. It's a game that doesn't take itself too seriously, offering a fun and frantic experience that's perfect for when you just want to unleash your inner eco-warrior with a healthy dose of arcade violence. So grab some friends, pick your favorite animal-loving badass, and get ready to show those poachers what happens when you mess with nature. Just try not to get too distracted by the sheer absurdity of it all. It's part of the charm. Thunder Zone, 1991, Data East. Alright, put on your best detective hat and grab your plastic gun, because we're heading back to the arcades of 1991 for a shootout with Data East's Thunder Zone, also known in some circles as Lethal Enforcers 2. Now, if you remember the original Lethal Enforcers, you know the drill. You're the good guy, and a whole lot of pixelated bad guys are about to learn the meaning of justice via a hail of digital bullets. Thunder Zone takes that formula and cranks up the cheese factor and the sheer volume of on-screen enemies. The story? Well, there's a crime wave sweeping the city, as always, and it's up to you and a buddy to step into the shoes of a couple of no-nonsense cops who aren't afraid to use excessive force, with light guns, of course. The gameplay is about as straightforward as it gets. Point your light gun at the screen and shoot the bad guys before they shoot you. It's a classic rail shooter experience, meaning you don't control your character's movement. Instead, the game takes you on a predetermined path through various crime-ridden locations. Your job is simply to have the fastest trigger finger in the arcade. What makes Thunder Zone so memorable and arguably underrated is its sheer, over-the-top presentation. The digitized graphics, while a bit blocky by today's standards, were pretty impressive back then, and the sheer number of enemies the game throws at you is often hilarious. You'll be blasting away at hordes of ninjas, cowboys, gangsters, and even the occasional knife-wielding chef, because why not? The game also features some hilariously cheesy voice acting and cutscenes that add to its overall charm. While it might not be the most sophisticated shooter out there, Thunder Zone delivers a pure, unadulterated dose of arcade light gun fun. It's the kind of game that's best enjoyed with a friend, a pocket full of quarters, and a willingness to embrace the glorious absurdity of it all. Just try not to accidentally shoot your buddy when things get too hectic. Bucky OHare, 1992, Konami, hair today, gone tomorrow, but not before blasting some toads. Alright, let's hop into the cosmic fray with Konami's Bucky OHare, a 1992 arcade gem that brought the beloved comic book and cartoon series to glorious, pixelated life. If you were a kid, or a cool adult, in the early 90s, you probably remember Bucky and his space crew battling the evil Toad Empire. Well, this arcade game let you be right in the thick of that intergalactic rabbit versus amphibian war. The story is pretty straightforward. The Toads are being their usual tyrannical selves, and it's up to Bucky and his diverse team of animal heroes to stop them from, taking over the galaxy. Classic good versus evil stuff, but with way more fur and fewer lily pads. What made Bucky OHare such a blast was its fantastic 4-player co-op action and its faithful recreation of the cartoon's vibrant world. You could choose to play as Bucky himself, the brave green hare captain, Jenny, the psychic cat pilot, Deadeye Duck, the 4-armed sharpshooting mallard, or Blinky, the one-eyed android. Each character had their own unique weapons and abilities, making teamwork essential for surviving the Toads' relentless onslaught. The gameplay was classic Konami side-scrolling beat-em-up goodness, with tight controls, hordes of quirky enemies, those Toad Troopers were surprisingly resilient, and some seriously impressive boss battles. The graphics were bright and colorful, perfectly capturing the look and feel of the animated series. While Bucky OHare might not be as widely celebrated as some of Konami's other arcade hits like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or The Simpsons, it offered a unique and thoroughly enjoyable experience for fans of the franchise and beat-em-up enthusiasts alike. It's a testament to a time when cartoons could be genuinely cool, and arcade games let you jump right into the action with your friends. So, if you ever stumble across this one in the retro gaming wild, don't be a scaredy hare. Hop in and give those toads what for. Marvelous verdict. The arcades of the 80s and 90s were bursting with creativity, and these 25 underrated gems prove it. From monster-smashing brawlers to surreal shooters and quirky platformers, each game brought something unique to the scene, even if they never got blockbuster fame. Today, they're celebrated by retro fans for their bold ideas, wild visuals, and pure, unfiltered fun. If you're looking to rediscover the true depth and variety of arcade history, these overlooked classics are the perfect place to start.